And then I'll let a few seconds roll at the beginning here. Do you see our stream, Nick?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat, and it looks like we are streaming. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm very excited today. I have my good friend Nick Nimmin here to join us to have a great chat about YouTube growth strategies. And I've been able to do some interviews in the past, and it's been like crazy how fast Nick's grown in the short time that I've known him. There's so much to learn from this guy, and you know, Nick's done so much. He's a YouTuber, and he has his website and his show that he co-hosts with his brother Dee Nimmin live weekly every Saturday. He does podcasting. He co-hosts a show with Owen Hemsath, and they just have a great thing going that we all enjoy weekly. And I'm just so excited that Nick's here, and I'd like to welcome you, Nick. And how you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic, Gord. Thanks for having me on, man. You know, as always, I appreciate it, man. I hope you are doing fantastic. I hope everybody watching right now is also doing fantastic.
That's awesome. And we have, wow, the stream is going crazy. And I'd like to thank all you for coming out and to be here and enjoy the conversation with Nick and I this morning. I see there's Paul Peck, there's Grabster, Pam Duthie, Launchpad Astronomy, all kinds of great people here. Brian G's in the house too. Welcome, Brian. Jen Adventures. Hey, I haven't seen Jen for a while. Nice to see you all here. And this is really
nice. We got a superstar lineup, it looks like, hanging out in the chat. Love it.
Yeah. This is really cool. So we're gonna do something a little different today, Nick, than what I think a lot of people think about in terms of doing, you know, looking at growth strategy and stuff like that. And you know, rather than focus on purely the tactical kind of things, you know, like doing our best to put in, you know, the right titles, the thumbnails, and optimizing in that kind of way, I want to tap into your experience from growing so fast and some of the things that you've gone through to you know, experience. Like, I'm sure you've learned a ton in such a short time. And how long ago was, it was at VidSummit 2017 when we first met. And I remember walking with you along to get a coffee the first morning. I guess I was there a day earlier, and we were going to meet Brian as well. And I think you were between 60 and 70,000 subscribers back then, right? Does that make sense?
At that point in time, I believe that I had 70, just a little over 70, because I think that I was just creeping up on 70. I might have had like 69,000 or something like that, but it was really close to the 70,000 subscriber milestone. Yeah, I want to say also really quick, Gord, Danielle from Cutting the Caboose just dropped you a 50 spot there.
I just see that. Thank you so much, Danielle, and I really enjoy her content too. She's been doing some awesome stuff, and thank you so much. And so Nick, it's like what, a year and 4 months? Is that it? And,
yes.
And you go from like 70, 80K to 320 plus now. So what I'd like to do is talk about some of the things that, you know, I think your growth rate is kind of incredible, isn't it? How many K a month? Like what is it like? Are you peaking now, or is this typical month, or how are you doing?
Currently I'm at 16 as of today. I'm at 16,000 for the month. Starting in September, I had a little bit of a drop to where I dropped down to 14,000, but slowly on the recovery path right now. So I average, you know, right around that, you know, 15 or 16 or so. My peak is 18, almost 19,000 for the month. So I gotta work harder. I gotta do more in order to like, I want to break that 20, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, because that's where I was going to go with my first kind of question here. Like, as you grow and the numbers start getting higher and you start to see new rates, like, do you feel any pressures? Like, what is it you feel with your growth as you know, you go through ebbs and flows, but mostly, you know, it keeps rising. what is that like to you? Like, you know, a lot of people say don't focus on the subscribers and the counts and that, because I mean, personally for me, the stats, I follow them closely, but they also can disappoint me. But you know, you're just like rising and rising. Does it add pressure to you?
No, it doesn't add pressure. One thing that does happen though, like I pay more attention to my monthly count and my daily count than I do my overall subscriber count. My overall subscriber count is awesome, but there's a content creator. He's a tech YouTuber called Travis MCP. We call him Travis MVP. And he just put out a video for his 20,000 subscriber milestone. And in his video, he actually phrased it really well. And he said that because he grew from, I think, 400 to over 20,000 within 12 months on his channel. Wow. And the way that he phrased it is he said, you know, it seems like when you're first starting out and you're trying to get that traction going, that you're really focused on that number, and you're like, you know, like your perception of like what a big channel is and all that stuff is different than when things start accelerating and you start having that faster growth. It really starts shifting your perspective, so to speak, on like what's going on, because like you see that number just ticking away every single day.
Yeah.
And because of that, it makes it, I don't know if easier is the right way to say it, but it just makes it more interesting to peg it to that monthly count or to peg it to that daily count instead of looking at, you know, the overall. So when like big milestones are crossed, then, you know, of course, you know, that's a big deal. But outside of that, saying, you know, okay, well, I was at 300, now I'm at 320, for example, like that extra 20, even though it is a big deal because that's a lot more people, it's not something that I'm like really focused on. I'm more focused on like what's happening on the day or what's happening on the month.
So in other words, that I'll call it that snowball, that momentum is kind of in place now, and it doesn't necessarily need a focus. So do you consider yourself to be a competitive guy in terms of like looking at the stats and that and your growth? Like, I mean,
no, I actually have a video coming out. Like, I might publish it tonight.
Yeah,
I might publish it tonight, actually. I have a video coming out actually talking about competition. And one of the things, my perspective on competition is, you know, of course, you want to look at other people in your industry. You want to look at people who are doing better than you. And you want to say, you know, what is it that they are doing that I'm not? But also at the same time, we all have our own insufficiencies. And I think that because of that, all of our competition, like the main things that we're competing against, should be internal. Like for me, a big competitor that I have is procrastination, for example. Like it's like I have procrastination as a competitor. I have trying to do too many things at one time as a competitor, which has worked out, but it's still one of those things that that is a constant thing that I'm competing against. And for me, those insufficiencies within myself are things that that I'm trying to fix and that I focus on more than, you know, who's doing what in terms of, you know, their subscriber counts or their view counts or how much money they're making or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I know my personal struggles, they're all really the internal things. And as soon as we focus on the external, we know that that's stuff that we can't really control. The best that I hope for in the world of, I don't know, a friendly competition, like, you know, I don't know, not just mentors, but colleagues or people and peers and creators, helping creators. You know, I think that's an important thing about connecting with the community and all of that, because I mean, it can be, you know, I find the YouTube game can be quite lonely at times because of the focus and energy that you have to do to achieve and produce, right? So, I mean, I'm sure, you know, you feel some of that, like you're saying, like procrastination. What makes that surface? Is it because, oh, I got to dive in now and really, you know, grind it in a positive sense, but it's about getting that out, that quantity and quality, right?
Yeah. And I think with that also, like for me, you know, one of the things that helps me, you know, fight that, and I think, yeah, Launchpad Astronomy, you know, phrase it as a demon. One of the things that helps me fight that demon of procrastination is that other thing of, you know, doing too many things at one time, so that I can say, hey, if I don't want to do this, then I'm just going to do this, to where even though I might be procrastinating, I'm still doing something that's productive, that's moving me forward pretty much all the time. So because of that, I think that is something that, you know,
yeah. So sometimes
to focus on, right?
Yeah.
So another thing also is, like a lot of people on YouTube, they'll look at all the people in their space and they'll look at them, as competitors also. But in reality, the people that are in your niche on YouTube, they're allies more than anything, because like, for example, the way that YouTube works is YouTube is showing viewers content based on their interest. So if somebody's watching one of your competitors, but they haven't watched you yet, if they watch your competitors a lot, then that increases the chances of you surfacing. Right. So because of that, and it works the other way around too, but because of that, you have to look at your competitors more as, I mean, sure, everybody, is comparing themselves in some fashion, but I think it's more important to look at all of the other people in your space as allies, than it is to look at them as competitors. And even reaching out to people for collaborations. I mean, everybody in the chat right here, they've seen how much Brian G. Johnson and I, will throw, mentions back and forth in videos or share each other's content and things like that. That's another way that we collaborate on YouTube. So, in a situation like that, it just takes us out of that competitive thing, and it's like, hey, it's crazy not to work together, because we can all do this stuff together, especially with the people that are in the same niche that you're in.
Yeah, I find my belief is that it's such a big world out there, and we're all so unique. Yes, some people are going to grow faster than others and have developed their skills to certain levels and achieve certain results, and there's people maybe looking more for one person's kind of content than another. But I mean, the space is just so vast, and that's why I think collaboration is a huge opportunity to support growth and attracting more to your to your machine or your momentum as well, right?
Yeah, and with collaboration also, one thing with collaboration is a lot of people will look at collaboration and they'll think of, hey, I just want to, or I don't want to collaborate because of the time it takes, or I don't know how, in terms of how do we exchange files, or whatever. And the thing with collaboration though is, in addition to the other traffic sources in YouTube, collaborations can also be a traffic source for you, because let's say that you collaborate with 20 people over the course of the year.
Yeah,
that's 20 extra YouTube channels that your videos are on, and they'll be on for a really long period of time, to where you can add that as one of your traffic sources, so to speak, as a means to get people to your content. So collaborations are a fantastic thing, and everybody, that doesn't matter what niche you're in, you should definitely be collaborating.
Yeah, that's some great advice. So what would you say to someone that's feeling that they're struggling with their growth, sort of like me? I wish I was much larger. Like, in general, what kind of advice would you give people in terms of like hanging in there? Is it about trying new things? Like, there's some general, yet experience tips from your experience so far in the people you
Absolutely.
coach.
So if you're on YouTube and you're doing YouTube as a hobby, or you're doing YouTube as something that's just kind of something on the side, to where you're like, hey, I'm putting out content so that I can connect with other people that are similar to me, then in that particular situation, then the actual growth side of things, it's cool, but it's not something that people might focus on, for example, or maybe that they should even focus on, because that will take away from the craft. But if it's something that you're trying to do as a means to drive traffic to stuff, or to generate income or something like that, then it's important to make sure that you're making the right decisions in terms of the actual content that you're putting out. Because a lot of people will want to put out content that they want to put out, but they won't necessarily be putting out the exact content that the people that watch their videos respond to. And that can be a huge hurdle, because, as creators, as people that like to make stuff, whatever that stuff happens to be, we want to, express that through what it is that we do. And it's really difficult sometimes to say, you know what, I want to do this right now, but because of, the way that my channel is going this month, I need to focus all of my efforts on doing this thing instead of doing this thing. So basically, I need to make sure that I'm serving everybody, because the numbers are starting to go down a little bit. So I need to make sure that I'm putting out that right content that's serving that core audience that I'm trying to get in front of.
So consistency is such a critical aspect to all of this. Then is kind of what
well, it's consistency, right? But it's also putting out the right content.
Yeah.
Like making the right content decisions. Because if you are, if you're just putting out stuff that you want to put out, that you think that people, should watch, then in that particular case, it might not work out. It might, but on the other side, if you have content that is proven to work,
Yeah.
then that's the type of content. If you're focused on growth, right? If you're focused on growth, because not everybody's focused on growth,
exactly.
But if you're focused on growth and you're wanting to get those numbers, you have to make that call. And in other situations too, like let's say, for example, you're making long videos, right? Where they take up a bunch of time. Well, if you're focused on making those long videos and you're not focused on the growth, then your channel might suffer if people are not responding to those long videos. So for example, let's say that we actually had this conversation before, Gord, in terms of, putting out content that is like awesome in terms of serving the audience and giving people the information they need to accomplish tasks and things like that. However, if people aren't responding to that long content, you can make it as cool as you want and spend all of that time, or you can say, okay, I'm going to spend half of that time, and then I'm going to spend another half of that time for another upload, so I can create another doorway into my channel. I can create another opportunity to make money, and I can create another opportunity to possibly get a video that's going to rank better in search or be suggested next to a strong video or something like that.
Yeah, I myself need to take heed to a lot of that advice that you just gave there, because my comfort zone is in doing the long deep dive tutorial, and they're great and I love them, and I think in my heart they serve so well. But this gets to sometimes where that artist creator of you takes over more from a selfish standpoint, and it's not totally serving, because your audience may want a diversity in what you're capable of producing and sharing with them, right? And this is where
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to experiment, and it's great to add that stuff to the content that you're putting out. But if you are wanting to grow, right? If you're wanting to grow your channel, you have to focus on the content that people are responding to. You also have to mix into that experimentation, because you might experiment with a different type of content or a different way of structuring or whatever it happens to be, to where people really respond to that. So it's important to always experiment as well, but you just have to, that's the whole thing behind content strategies. Content strategy is basically to where you say, okay, I have X amount of videos that I'm putting out per month. X amount of videos are going to be, the videos that are proven performers. X amount of videos are going to be videos that are proven to drive sales, or the type of videos that are proven to drive sales. X amount of videos are going to be experimental videos, or videos that I'm putting out just because it's a message that I think people need to hear.
Yeah. So it's, in a way,
as an example,
it's a balancing act too, right? Is what you're
it is, but that's what content strategy is, right? It's planning. That's what any strategy is. It's planning out what it is that you're trying to do, but it's also that planning is saying, okay, this is my big thing that I'm trying to accomplish. Like, this is what I'm trying to do. So what content is it that I have to put out in order to make sure that I accomplish that particular thing? If it's a subscriber number, or a view count, or if it's a dollar amount, or if it's exposure, or people seeing you in a particular kind of way, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe if it's free hotels, if you're a travel vlogger, maybe all you want is, hey, I'm traveling around anyway, I just want to get hotel hookups everywhere I go. Then you have to make content that facilitates, so that when people see your content and you contact them and you say, hey, I'm coming to this particular area and I'm a travel vlogger, I have X amount of people watching my videos, and I'm wanting to see if you wanted to work something out to where we shoot some videos inside of your hotel in exchange for a room, or a week stay or something like that. If that's your goal, then you have to make content that through your journeys is going to highlight the different hotels that you're staying in, so that when they see it, they're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, they're really putting some highlight on these hotels. So yeah, let's definitely, hook them up with some rooms. So you have to look at what it is that you're trying to accomplish at the end, or what it is that you're trying to get, and then make the content that actually paves that road for you to get there.
Absolutely. That's some great advice. Let's take a quick moment to welcome and appreciate a lot of the great people that have shown up in the chat. I'm so grateful that you're all here. I see there's lots of great people here. Pam Duthie's joined us. The Friedman Group, that's Brad. Stony Creek Heritage Farm.
We got Dee Nimmin in the house.
Awesome. And Motivation Theory, Cricket Wilson. I'd love to see Cricket there. I haven't seen her in a while. That's nice. Jason Valade. And
Michael Daniels, thank you for that, by the way.
Yes, thanks, Michael. And Jesse O'Donnell. I can't keep up. You're too fast for me, Nick. Daniel Patel. Crypto Cruising. Nice to see Neil there. Wow, so many great people. Thank you all for coming and we're going to continue on. And if you want to ask some questions, feel free to put something in there. And I know Nick's a great scanner of these things in because he's so good at the multitasking, having been an expert at the live streaming so much. But thank you all for being here. That's great. So to continue some of my angles on growth, I want to ask you about productivity. How have you changed, Nick, in terms of, when you first started out? And I remember we did a collab on stuff about batching and workflow and stuff like that. I've heard that you are using various outsourcing resources now. Like I've heard you say, like you use things like Monday.com. Do you use Agorapulse and you outsource some of your
well,
editing?
Monday.com is a content manager. So all that is that's basically just an overview of the content that I'm putting out, and that's also a way that I can communicate with the Gord who edits my videos. Mm-hmm. So that's what Monday is. In terms of Agorapulse, that's fantastic. That's what I use for any social media posting that I do in terms of scheduled stuff for Twitter and things like that. I really like Agorapulse. Yeah. But in terms of the overall workflow, batching is still always extremely important. Yeah. Like for example, like we had talked about before the stream, like today, it's like 10:30 at night here. But when we finish this, this stream right now, I'm gonna make 3 videos, and then I'm gonna batch 2 scripts for another thing that I do with Uscreen. So because of that, batching, you have to look at that and say, how can I get as much done as possible in this short amount of time? So depending on the type of content that you make, some content this works better for than other types of content. Like for example, Paul Peck would have a little bit more of a difficult time, because he's hanging drywall, right? So a little bit more difficult time there, batching content. But, like in my case, batching is a fantastic way to get, really ahead on the content that you're putting out. Yeah, and I recommend trying to figure it out. In terms of batching your content, batching different aspects of your workflow, even if it's keyword research or whatever it happens to be, batching can really help with what it is that you're doing.
I want to just jump back to the concept we talked about before when we were saying procrastination, and I find it's interesting when you want to get into batching mode. Like sometimes, because I'm not quite there with the success in batching because of the way I do these deep dive tutorials and have to create a whole lesson, choreograph it before, and do all this work before I even sit down to record. But like you're saying, like maybe I sit down and do my SEO work for a few topics and batch that as an effort, right? So when your procrastination hits, with what aspects of your workflow or stuff that you do does it sometimes hit? I'm just curious.
When my procrastination hits, it depends on how bad it hits. Like if I'm out and it hits, then it can hit everything because I'll be like, you know what, I'm going to go see a movie. But if I'm home and it hits in that particular case, then like where maybe I should be recording videos, I might work on something else, right? Like if I should be recording videos, then in that case, maybe I'll work on something for Tubertools, or if I should be doing something for Tubertools, maybe I'll work on videos or whatever. So, so with that, I try, if I'm home, I'm okay, I'm covered. But if I'm out, then I can really blow some time. I can really blow some time if I don't pay attention.
Yeah, I like that approach. I find that rather than sort of get down on yourself when you're at home, whatever, if you don't feel like doing something in particular, you have so many options to dive into to keep the ball moving forward. So, you may feel a little let down because you didn't do that thing that you had planned, but as long as you did something that contributed a value to your progress, then, it's pretty good, right?
Yeah. Like tonight, for example, right? Like I should have made the videos earlier, but I just didn't feel like it at the time. So what I did is I'm kind of rearranging the studio right now. So what I did is I just worked on that instead because it's something that I've been wanting to do. But I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do the videos right now. So I'm just going to focus on that. And then now that that's, finished, when we're done with this, then I'll be able to, crank out some videos or whatever. So it's just basically just taking that and saying, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm going to try to make it productive again, unless I'm out, then things can get a little bit weird. But one thing that I do try to do with that also is, let's say that I'm at Starbucks and I'm, not feeling productive or whatever. Then in that particular case, another thing that I might do is I might hop in my phone and like answer comments or try to come up with video ideas or, something along those lines. Or, work on outlines for, different course stuff or, whatever, for the future. So I try to be productive as much as I possibly can, because unless I'm actually intentionally relaxing, then I look at it kind of like it's a waste of time, if you're not trying to do something to move you forward.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So I had something in mind, but I'm changing my mind now. Okay. You, since Vid Summit, when we met, you've gone to a lot of conferences and you're doing some speaking engagements at some of them now as well. So how are you enjoying that, and where does that fit into helping you as a person growing your channel and your connection and networking? Can you share with
in terms of growing my channel? It doesn't help much in terms of growing or establishing my influence. It definitely adds to it. However, like when I go to these things, I just try to, like, anytime I get that opportunity to stand on stage, I just like to make sure that I'm bringing as much value as possible. And I just look at it as that. I don't really look at it as, okay, well, I'm going to be up here and this is going to make people like see me as like a more important person or anything like that. I just look at it like, great, I have this opportunity now to stand up here and teach people something that maybe they didn't know before. So maybe there might be one or two people, or maybe even a bunch of people that are going to be watching that are going to walk away with a bunch of really good information that they didn't know previously. So my next speaking engagement that I'm doing is at Social Media Marketing World in March. So anybody in the chat, if you're going to be around the California area, then you definitely need to head over to Social Media Marketing World, because it's going to be awesome.
And when is that? It's in March.
That's in March.
Yeah.
It's March 20th through the 22nd.
And can you share what your topic's going to be?
How to grow a YouTube channel.
Oh, awesome.
It's actually how to start a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's how to start a YouTube channel, and basically it's all going to be framed around all the foundational stuff so that you have a chance. Because if you don't get things started right, then you're going to have tons of repair to do down the road. So if you get everything started correctly so that you have a nice strong foundation to build off of, then it can really make a huge difference on your YouTube channel.
So when you say that about foundation, do you feel that there's a certain, no turning back point, like, or that you've damaged, or you're okay to do all kinds of pivoting and shifting? Like, how large is it? Is it about stats or
you can always change? I mean, there's no, like, none of this stuff is set in stone. There's not like well, it's got to be this way and it has to be this way all the time, and you have to, make sure that you're on ABC. Like there's the base, there's the best practices to everything, but you can always change. You can always, modify. You might have some pains that you go through, during that process in terms of growth, or maybe people aren't responding to stuff as much as you would like, or whatever it happens to be. You might suffer or take a hit, so to speak, in your numbers. But, at the end of the day, you can always change, and you can always, decide, hey, I just don't want to do this anymore, so now I'm going to do something else. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, I often think about, if I did a shift,
thanks, Brian.
Is it too late to start to do that or adjust or rebalance? And I think, like you said, I mean, experimentation is also part of the process, but I've heard you talk about the concept of the umbrella and the scope of a niche, and like I at many times felt like I was like too broad brushed, but I don't feel that way. And yes, obviously niching down specifically may yield a more focused growth, but there are so many ways to do this, you know what I mean? And I think it's fascinating, and everybody is like a different bundle or mix together. Not everybody's just focused, the same, even in the same niche, right? We all have a little diversification somehow in what we're doing, right?
Sure, absolutely. Like the more you focus, if you can, like the way that you have to think about it is you just have to think about who's watching your videos, and are they the right person, the right people that you want to watch your videos, and what content do you need to make in order to be in front of that right person? Because again, it comes down to what it is that you're trying to do. Like if you're just putting out videos and you're just a hobbyist and you're like, hey, I'm just going to put out videos because I want to connect with other people that are into the same stuff I am,
Right.
then in that particular case, it's a totally different thing. Because with that, like 1 week you can be into mobile phones, and then the next week you're into computers, and then the week after that you're talking about, music stuff, for example, right? But if you're like seriously like, hey, I'm trying to get like momentum on this thing and I'm trying to like turn it into something, then in that case, it really pays to focus in on your content.
Okay, that's great. I wanted to ask you a little bit. I mean, we have talked a bit about collaborations, and this kind of topic's been brought up before, but do you believe that people have to be a certain size before they should go out and reach out to people? And I know you've been so kind and generous in the way you've collabed with people. What's your philosophy on that? Like some people may feel they're just, is there an issue of ego and respect and how does one juggle that if they're very curious to grow and they're smaller in size and they would love to approach some bigger people?
So my view on collaborations is this. Basically, I think that if somebody has a smaller channel, they should try to reach out to anybody that they can. They should reach out to people that are the same size as them. They should reach out to people that are smaller than them. They should reach out to people that are bigger than them. But the whole thing with collaborations is it's all in the approach. There are a few things that, for me personally, that I look for. And really, I don't even do that much like virtual collaborations these days. Like if it's in person at an event or something like that, then I'll do those. I know Brian G. Johnson and we have some stuff coming up. And then of course I've got some stuff coming up with Dee as well. But but Dee's in person also. But outside of Brian, like the virtual stuff, like, because there's like tech involved and there's a process involved and things like that. So for me, I had an experience one time to where I had somebody reach out to me to collaborate and I liked their content and I was like, hey, you've got some good stuff, let's do it. And then it turned into a process of me actually like training them and all this stuff on like how the whole thing works. And they wanted me to like write their part of the video and stuff like that. And that's not, like I opted out of that one because I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this because that's not what it is. It's where you bring to the table what you have, I bring to the table what I have, and then we share, right? So for me, like I have a certain thing in terms of, the person has to at least have some understanding of what's going on with YouTube, right? So like if I go and I look at their channel, they have to have, they have to be running at least best practices on their stuff. They don't have to be a big channel. They just have to be running best practices on their stuff. They have to be putting in effort, because if I'm going to have somebody on my channel, or if I'm going to, if I'm going to collaborate or work with somebody, then I want to work with somebody that is also like me. Somebody that, somebody that's like, taking this stuff seriously, somebody that's saying, okay, this is all the stuff that I have to work with. How do I make this work for me in the best way possible? I don't, like if somebody is like making videos on a phone, I don't care. As long as, the quality is an acceptable quality, the audio quality is there. Like if people are just putting that effort in, then, I think that's all you need is that effort. But, again, there's definitely a small barrier to entry. Yeah. And that barrier to entry is based on effort and just making sure that your quality is at least somewhat in line. Because like if I do a collaboration with somebody and then I send them to a channel, and that channel doesn't have, at least close to the same quality as I do, then there's also a disconnect there. And it's a bigger bonus if they have a similar personality or they have a similar type of content or something like that. So like, that's why, like Brian G. Johnson and that's why we're such a good fit when we collaborate, because like he nails it in his presentation. He nails it in the quality of his videos. He knows what he's talking about. He knows the tech behind, all of this stuff and everything. So that's why he's such an awesome person to work with when it comes to, doing, collaborations on YouTube. So,
yeah, well, I must say, I think you're very kind and generous in how you do that. And I'm greatly appreciative of the fact that you've come and we've been able to do a few interviews. And I think we were able to bring lots of value to the community. And I always learn some new stuff from your experiences. And I think it's just great that you do that and help people. So we've got a lot more people in the chat again, and a lot of regulars from Nimmin Live are here as well. There's Beanie Draws, I see Creator Fundamentals, Hybrid Steel, Crypto Cruising, you know, that's some additional people, you know, that came, Livestream Universe, Top Shelf VA, that's Ross Brand, their live stream, and Naomi. And, you know, I apologize if I don't catch everyone. Not used to seeing it so busy here, but it's fantastic. And again, thank you all for joining us here today, and it's been really cool so far. And Nick, I'd like to segue into something else. You know, we did talk a bit earlier about no, actually we didn't dive into this yet. Maybe we did. Sponsorships.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about those from your experience, you know, because of, you know, where you were earlier on. Do YouTubers, should they be knocking on the door of sponsors? Do sponsors come and knock on your door? How does it typically work? And again, is there any size element to the channel that's relevant here? Like what really, you know, piques an interest in a sponsor to want to work with a creator?
It's all of the above, just like anything else, right? Like if you're somebody that's going after it, you're going to find it. But if you're somebody that is just sitting around waiting for stuff to happen, then it might happen, but it also might not happen. But if you if you're going after it, then you can definitely make it happen. I have a friend of mine that is, he's getting ready to cross 30,000 subscribers, and he's making, you know, like decent money off of his channel, but he's sending out like six figure proposals now. With what it is that he's doing, and he warrants that kind of money for what it is that he's doing. But he has a, you know, relatively small channel considering, you know,
Sure.
Considering the money that he's you know, asking for. So so yeah, but the reason that he's going to win is because he's working it. You know what I mean? Like part of his workflow is every single day he's reaching out to 5 brands every single day. It's part of his workflow. So basically, like, so he has to hop on the internet, try to find different brands, and try to think outside of the box in terms of what kind of people would like to work with me, right? And he has to think outside of the box and try to explore outside opportunities, not just specifically what is the type of stuff that he's covering, but hey, you know what, I'm wearing, you know, a particular brand shirt in my video, or, you know, a particular type of glasses. So I'm going to start reaching out to them and see if I can work something out with them. So because he's hustling, he's already making income. But because he's hustling like that, he will win. He's actually really close to winning right now. He's actually waiting. He's in negotiations on some of his 6-figure things, but he's grinding it out. And in terms of somebody that like I respect his grind, so to speak, because he's grinding so hard to make it happen. But because of it, he went from working a job that he was unhappy with to now he's full-time on YouTube. He's earning an income that is, you know, sustaining him. And then now he's just trying to amplify everything.
Yeah.
But it's because he's a go-getter, right? Yeah, he's a go-getter. If you sit around and you wait, nothing's going to happen. I mean, you might have some people knocking your doors, but if you go out there and you're at least trying to meet people and trying to create relationships so that, you know, people know who you are, people know what it is that you do, people know what it is that you can offer, then you're going to get much better results than if you're just making videos by yourself and you're not trying to do any type of outreach whatsoever.
Yeah. And I think this is like an amazing subject, because not everybody is fires on all cylinders that are needed to be an entrepreneur, right? And to fulfill certain aspects of the business. So I think, you know, some people should seek the right kind of coaching, for example, to help them shore up their skill or how to execute, because not everyone knows, you know, the ropes of what they need to do. And then, like you said, there's others that are like, they're bursting out of the box, ready to knock on any door, and because I'm not saying necessarily that it's in their comfort zone, but maybe it is in their comfort zone, but they know what they need to do in order to take that step, and or they just figure
it out. Yeah, like that's the thing, Gord, is, and that's something that people don't give enough credit to, is like, there's the side, like a lot of people will say like, oh, well, you know, maybe they are doing that because they know what to do or something like that. But it's not that. It's saying, you know what, I'm just gonna start reaching out to people, and I'm gonna figure out what to do. It doesn't matter if I know what to do or not. I'm gonna figure out what to do. I'm gonna figure out what type of emails that I have to send in order to get people to respond. I have to figure out what I need to say. I need to figure out what my price points are in terms of, if somebody says, yeah, I'm interested, let's have that conversation, let's hop on a call. I need to figure out how much that I can, charge people. Maybe you're charging too low, maybe you're charging too high, but the people that are going to make that stuff happen, those are the people that are going to work through all of that, and they're going to figure it out. Because, a lot of people, that go into anything, they go into it and they're flying blind when they first get started, and they have to figure this stuff out along the way.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's the people, just like anything else, it's the people that figure it out, the people that put in the work, the people that try to understand it, that win.
Yeah. And the only reason why I'm trying to take this angle is because, there are people that are used to the 9 to 5, and they're not used to having, being that resourceful and exploring something like this.
But they have to. That's
growth,
the thing.
But they have to, like you're saying, if they want to.
Yeah, they have to. Like if you're somebody that is trying to turn YouTube or video marketing or, online influence, if you're somebody that's trying to turn that stuff into a living, you're trying to do that as a entrepreneurial venture,
right,
then you have to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do in your day job. It doesn't matter what's happened to you in the past. You have to wake up every day and you have to say, okay, I'm going to do something today that is going to lead me down that road. If it's reaching out to a brand, if it's putting together a media kit, if it is, connecting with people on LinkedIn, or trying to reach out to people on Twitter, like whatever that thing is, like it's something that they have to do. Because if they don't do it, then, nothing is just going to magically, it's not going to just magically come together.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points, because I think, it's so easy to look and think that some people may think they're disadvantaged, or they're too small, or too this or to that, and they're not really looking at themselves to take the steps that need to be done to be more resourceful, or to explore and network and figure it out. And I think your points are well taken there, Nick. And
yeah, and another thing too, like, a lot of people, they'll also for all of us as human beings, it's real easy for us to come up with reasons not to do things, or to come up with, like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't know how to do it, or I'm not going to do that because I can't find, the right resource to show me how to do it, or whatever. But with anything, like, you have to take the initiative. If you don't take the initiative, nobody's going to take that initiative for you. So you have to say, okay, what is it that I'm trying to do? What do I have to figure out in order to make it happen? And if you don't know what you have to figure it out, or what you have to figure out, then you have to start figuring out what to figure out, right?
Yeah,
and you just have to take that initiative if you want anything to happen.
Yeah, and also sometimes having people that that sort of like care about you, and vice versa, that are good for accountability, to help give you a little push and encouragement, or even like belonging to a mastermind group.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely, it is like if you can partner up with people, or not partner up, but if you can just like talk to people that are also doing the things that you want to do, or they're in the similar grind as you, or they're having similar experiences than you, or they have just a totally different skill set than you that you might be able to tap into. Like, just that alone can be huge. Because, for example, like, you might think, like, okay, for example, Roberto Blake. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started doing consulting, Roberto Blake hit me up, and he just called me like randomly out of the blue. And that was the first time that we ever like hopped on a phone call, and he just called me up out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, Nick, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah." And we started talking, and he literally just broke down everything that he was doing. He broke down like his pricing and all that stuff. And he was like, "Hey, we're all in this thing together." So he asked me what I was charging for stuff. And he straight up, he was like, "I'm getting a lot more than that, so you need to raise your prices." And I was like, okay. So then from that point forward, like, anybody that came in, I was like, okay, prices are now raised because, other people in the space are getting that. And if he wouldn't have reached out and informed me of that, then I would have, when I was doing consulting, I would have been charging a lot less, or continued to, have been charging a lot less than I should have. So, knowing people that are doing the things that you are either doing or trying to do can be extremely valuable. Because, just something like that, somebody saying, "Hey, you need to, add, X amount of percent to your prices, or you should charge at least this, like that's extremely valuable, when you're trying to do anything. So
yeah, totally. If someone's walked a bit in the shoes that you want to go into, it can really give you a lot of confidence to take the step and know that you're going down a path that has proven success. So those are great tips. Thank you there on that, Nick. Now I'd like to, as part of growth, there's something called community and audience building, and that's something that you guys, you and Dee, do so well. Like, I mean, the time that you put in your Nimmin Live and the connection you make with people and the engagement and the conversation is just, something else. So I'd like to, aside from just doing things like, responding to comments and in your videos, and which is something to me which must be daunting task for the scale that you have to deal with, but can you share a few tips specifically about how to engage the people? Like you guys sometimes go as long as 6+ hours when you do one of your Nimmin Lives, but you have like a special bond with the Nimminati. So can you share some things about how to develop that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The best tip that I can give is to genuinely care. Like, okay, here's the thing. I know that the people that are watching my videos and the people that are participating in our live streams, I know a lot of people are not serious about it, and they're not serious about, what it is that they're doing and things like that on YouTube. However, I know that there are some people that are, and I know that there's some people that are trying to make like a pivotal thing happen in their life. So because of that, like I want that to work out for them. So because of that, I genuinely care. So we'll stay in a live stream, for a really long time. And a lot of that will come down to, we've got a bunch of super chats that came in. So then we have our, all those channels that we are going to look at for the super chats. But another thing that we do in the live streams is, as long as we're doing the channel reviews and the streams, another thing that we do is even though there's a big queue of super chats, we still try to do something that we now call one tip trivia, to where it gives us the opportunity to also look at channels to where maybe they just don't have the money to super chat, or maybe they are in a country to where super chat is restricted or something like that, to where we can still try to give that same type of information to people that that can't afford it, or that just don't want to pay for the super chat or whatever. So sometimes it just comes down to, like, we'll go for a long period of time because all of those super chats that came in, we take care of those, and it's like, okay, well now we've got to make sure that we do some free stuff also, so that we can give so we can give some of those people a chance also. So like for me, I think that just making sure that you genuinely care about the people that are watching your content, or depending on the different type of content that you make, it's a little bit different. But for me personally, in terms of why that engagement is so important, and why I look at things that way, is because I know that there's people that watch my stream, and there's people that watch my videos. Like, I've worked with some of them. I've, talked with some of them offline. I've met people at, Vid Summit and Video Marketing World and VidCon, to where, we've had conversations about, the big difference that, the content is made for them, or the stuff that they picked up in the live stream is made for them. And those are the people that I'm doing it for. For everybody else, it's like, hey, it's cool that you're participating. It's awesome, that you're sharing the content out or liking it or whatever. But for the people that are like taking the information and saying, you know what, I didn't know that before, now I know it, so from this point forward, I'm going to apply it. Like, those are the people that I'm
Yeah, and I think it's so great.
They're extremely important to me, because I want them to succeed.
And I think it's great, and a lot of the people share their success on what they learn from you guys when you're doing the show, and I think that must be like very rewarding to see them share, hey, I took your advice and this happened, and way to go, this has been like a huge turnaround for them. You get to see that, you get to get that reward, because people are so excited that you helped them and they got results, right? And like you said, that caring level makes a huge difference. And I often feel, I see that like in people like Brian too, like that's why when I've gone through his programs, they've been so helpful to me, and his level of caring to help you troubleshoot it's at an amazing level. And I think like those qualities that you guys have are so important to helping to succeed, to success, period, right?
Thanks,
That's a,
Gord. I appreciate
yeah.
that. And you know, one thing like for me, like one of the things that started that whole thing in terms of realizing like, you know, what was going on and the impact and the importance of the live streams was um when I first started live streaming on the channel, there was a channel, and I'm not going to call them out by name, but there was a channel that came in, and they came into the live stream like a handful of times. And every time they came in, they would have me look at the channel, and we basically took their channel via live stream. Right, it only cost them a few bucks, but via the live stream, we took their channel from being something that was it was unbranded, it was a mess, the content was kind of all over the place, to being like a fine-tuned, highly subscribable channel.
Nice.
And what happened was because they learned so much from listening to the live stream, they actually got an opportunity happen to where they got a shout out from a really, really big YouTuber.
Wow.
And because their channel was set up properly from what they had learned, and because their channel was you know, well branded and all that stuff, and because they focused in on their content, all the stuff, right? Because they did all the stuff, they were able to capitalize on that opportunity. And they went from, it was something crazy, like it was like 400 and something or 500 and something subscribers to over 400,000 subscribers within, it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks. So,
Wow.
so, you know, like situations like that, when they reached out to me and they thanked me because they were like, hey, we had this opportunity. And we believe that if it wasn't for all the stuff that we learned from your streams and, you know, setting everything up properly, that we would have been able to capitalize on it as much as we did. So they reached out to me and they thanked me for that. And that was the first thing for me to where I was like, wow, these live streams are like really making a, you know, these are really making an impact. So like when I got that email, for me, that's when the live streams became something that was like, you know, I gotta, you know, I gotta do these all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And that also, to me, gets to the point that, you know, we're all here to serve. And to me, there's nothing more rewarding when I hear a story like that you were able to help someone reach another level in their personal growth. And, you know, that's what it's about. I mean, to me, I call those priceless stories, you know. I just love to hear that kind of thing when you talk about them. So, Nick, one of the big topics that people love to talk about is monetization. And what I'd like to know is, you know, you were doing monetization from the early stages and always doing things like, well, you know, getting email addresses and doing different things along the way. How has what you do for monetization changed or evolved as you go from, like, you know, 10,000, 50,000, 100 or whatever through the cycle? Has it changed where your focus is, or is it
absolutely
just doing,
so basically when I first started my channel, it was, the whole thing was an experiment, which is kind of hilarious, but the whole thing was an experiment. And I was looking at internet marketing stuff, and one of the things that the internet marketing people were saying was that you needed to have an email list.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll you know, upload some YouTube videos and see if I can get some emails from there. And then, you know, that led down, you know, a few different roads, and then, you know, left that channel, came back to the channel, and so on. But that's why I initially had that in place. And it took me a while to really understand the I want to say the power of YouTube, but that sounds kind of, you know, whatever, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, it took me a while to really get the power of YouTube in terms of, you know, the reach that you can have and what you can generate from it in terms of, you know, monetization. And one of the things that happened was, and Brian's in the chat right now, and he can, you know, he can co-sign this one because he was a part of this, is, you know, I went and worked on another channel for a while, and that taught me in terms of like that kind of, I caught the bug in terms of like, okay, I want to do YouTube. I have, you know, like I see what's going on here, so I want to do YouTube, but I still didn't like fully, you know, get the whole thing. And then I was talking to Brian, and at that particular time, you know, like our design business that we had was just tanking. Right. And I was like, all right, I gotta, you know, I have to come up with a solution here, because, you know, I'm in Thailand. So if things go south, I gotta pack up and head back to the States and do God knows what. Right. So I'm like, okay, I got to come up with something. And Brian was like, okay, at the time I was on 2 channels, and Brian said, hey, focus. He said, just focus on one channel. And when you focus on that one channel, just put, you know, all of your efforts into making that happen. So I said, okay. And so I started focusing all of my efforts on my current channel, and I built Tubertools at that time. And I
Mhm.
said, okay, I'm going to focus on letting people know about, Tubertools and all of that. And at the time I was offering services off of Tubertools. And luckily, what had happened was, as the design service was going down, the service side of Tubertools, like, this was going down like catastrophically. And
Mhm.
then the service side of Tubertools picked up right as this one was, like, getting close to bottom. And that was able to kind of stabilize me, and then gave me like an additional foundation to build off of. But over time, it's transferred from doing different services, consulting, doing the actual design packages and things like that, to more passive things. Like, of course, my
Mhm.
Tubertools website, it's a front end store to where I sell like a la carte items, but there's a membership site attached to that as well,
Right.
which is great. So there's that. There's the membership side of that. I of course make money from AdSense as well, and from super chats and all of that. I do very well in terms of affiliate marketing also. And then of course, little things, like merch and, that kind of stuff, sending people to Amazon and those sorts of things as well. And then sponsorship, is also, a big contributor to what is going on. But for the most part, I've transitioned from more of a service-based thing to more of a passive thing, with a few exceptions, because, like, even if you're doing sponsored stuff, like, there's still work involved. Of course, there's work involved with making videos
Sure.
for AdSense and to keep the machine rolling, so to speak. But in terms of, like, if I just want to shut everything down and not work for, 3 days, like, I can do that, and it's not gonna, like, I'm not gonna suffer because of it, right? So in terms of what's happened on that journey is went from more of a, service based thing with doing affiliate stuff on the side, to more of trying to transition everything into more passive stuff.
Yeah, I would think that as you scale, I mean, to do more, to focus more on the service stuff, I mean, you probably have incredible demands on your time to be able to accommodate doing a lot of that kind of work.
Yeah, the
Is that a
first thing I
fair
did
assumption? Yeah.
is I hired somebody to help with the design stuff. That was the first
Yeah.
thing I did. Is I said,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna hire somebody to help with the design stuff. But even with that, like, it was, like, an order would come in, and then we had like forms that would automate to where basically they can go in and they can just fill out a form, upload logos and things like that. But then there was still me having to manage that person and all that. And at that particular time, I was like, you know what, this is just going to be better if I just axe this off. And I just shut that down in terms of the service side, because of the additional time that it was taking. And another thing with that also is, a lot of, back and forth, you're sending emails back and forth with the people that you're
Yeah.
doing work for, and all of that cuts into your time and all of that. So now I'm just leveraging everything as much as I can to
Yeah.
try to do as much passive,
Yeah.
take as much passive opportunity as I can.
Yeah, I was one of your, I guess then one of your earlier service customers in the realm of
Yeah.
Tubertools, and
Yeah.
I realized how much work that was involved in the back and forth and the effort that you put in. So that's why I asked. Like, I mean, I can't imagine as you scale to where you are now, if you were juggling a whole bunch of clients, it would be like you'd have little time to do other stuff. So I can see how.
Yeah.
It
So
evolved.
now, like,
So,
if I
yeah.
were to do that again, I would be able to approach it differently now. Like, I would just have somebody else deal with that. Right. So, like, if I were to do that now, then I would have somebody else handle, those orders. And then off of my channel, I would promote that service like crazy. And then have that one person, handle, either taking the orders and doing the work, or taking the orders and then delegating those orders to people that, that could do that work. So I would handle it differently now, but that's just not something that I'm interested in offering again.
Yeah. No, that's why I asked the question, because, you're at a stage, like, that's a size that certain things wouldn't make sense. And that's why I wanted to hear you speak to what some of those options were and how you evolved at that. And thank you for clarifying a lot of those approaches that you've taken and how it's evolved. So one of my last few subject areas I wanted to talk about in terms of growth was strategies that you're using for, promoting your videos or your channel. I guess this is part of the networking collab thing, but, how are you using the social media and the whole idea of, iChallenge? How can people be everywhere? So what is it that Nick focuses on, and what do you suggest to people to come up with a strategy about helping get your channel known and your video seen?
Focus for me, I focus more on the actual content. So I know that if I'm putting out content that is helping people and solving problems and all that stuff, then it'll do its own thing. So of course, I'll share it out on Twitter. I'll share stuff on Facebook sometimes. Sometimes I'll add things to like my email list or something like that. But for the most part, I just let YouTube, I let YouTube do its thing and let YouTube handle it. And the reason for that is just because things are at a point now to where, because people enjoy the content and all that, and everybody's like engaged with what is going on. So YouTube picks up on that, and, because people are responding to what's happening or to the content that's being put out. So then YouTube, does its thing with the content.
Right. So that was, one of the perspectives I had. And I think like once you achieve a certain size and let's say there's a certain amount of love volume for your content, you have to less worry about doing some of that because the engine is really working for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like the best promotion that you can get is on YouTube, right? Unless you tap into some like really powerful website or something like that. But the best promotion that you can get is right there on platform. Of course, sending stuff out in like emails and things like that is also a bonus because then you're like starting sessions and all that technical stuff. So that's also a big win when you can do it. But that's not something like I don't put out every video that I make. I don't add it to the email list. I'll put out maybe out of 5 videos, I might drop one into my email list and say, oh, you got to go watch this video.
Yeah. So I had another follow-up question here that was tied to this. So give me a second here. It'll come to mind. I had something I really wanted to ask. Yeah, so when Instagram stories came out, I remember that you were doing some really cool stuff, which I thought was like highly produced stuff when IGTV came out. And then I see you active in YouTube stories now. What is your perspective on some of these other avenues that you have to do live stuff or pre-recorded, and how are you intending to use things like stories going forward?
I think that everybody should use whatever they enjoy using. So for example, I like Instagram. So because of that, I'm not as active as I should be, but I still, I'll add stories there. Sometimes I add posts there and things like that because I like going on Instagram and I like looking at stuff. Instagram TV, when I started there, when they first released it, one, I was caught up in the hype. Two, I was like, okay, I'm going to start putting stuff here and just kind of see what happens. But then I found myself not really watching Instagram stories. I would go to Instagram still, but I just wouldn't go over to the stories. So I was like, what, if I'm not going over there and I don't care about it, then I'm not going to put content there. So with that said, it is important for people to diversify with what it is that they're doing because, an example, a channel gets shut down or, you get strikes or whatever ends up happening. It's a good idea to spread out, but just pick the platforms that you enjoy and try to grow those, as a side to what it is that you're doing on YouTube.
Yeah. And I've noticed Dee really loves doing the YouTube stories to answer questions and stuff like that. I see he really enjoys doing that. I've seen him do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I see different, like you said, different people are handling things that they really enjoy and get inspired by, producing content for. So one of the last topics is motivation, and we've touched on a lot of that already today because you were talking about
Hey, Gord, I really quick, I hate to do this, but I have to step away for 1 minute. So if you want to just carry this for 1 second, and then I'll be right back.
Absolutely. Okay. This is cool. Gord going solo in the middle of his chat with Nick. Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody who's here. I see there's again a lot more new people here. Self-publishing with Dale. Welcome, Dale Roberts. I see Dan Norton here and Vagard and Dee Nimmin. That's so cool to see you all here. And thanks for coming and enjoying our conversation today. And tell me what you all think about what Nick's been sharing with us here today. I think it's been really enjoyable for me. I hope you're enjoying it as well. Solo Gord, yeah, Dan, Iron Man Dan in real life. So yeah, I'm getting a taste of it, Dan. And just the fact that you're here makes me feel good about that. That's kind of cool. I'm I'm enjoying it. And here Nick's back.
Yeah, I'm
Beanie
back.
says Gord goes rogue. Oh, I love it. Dan Norton immediately goes solo Gord, and I go like, yeah, because like look at what you did his in real life stuff at Vid Summit, which was just phenomenal. Like, I mean, how he evolved in that space of a few days was just something spectacular to me, because it showed how.
Yeah, man, he held it down at
Yeah.
Vid Summit. Like
Yeah.
he held it down at Vid Summit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but when you and Dee were sitting in the restaurant on that first night with Daryl Eves and Evan Carmichael, Dan gave me a little encouraging note to make my ask for Evan to do an interview. And I'm playing this out. He's holding the light on you guys, and then I went for it, and it was just so magical, like just to experience the whole thing. It was fun. Like Dan's a great supporter.
And with that, let's back that up a second and remember how we were talking about earlier, like in terms of like you have to go get it because it's not going to come. Right.
Exactly.
Like that's a fantastic situation. So it's like right there, because since then, you've actually done an interview with Evan, like at his dance studio. Right.
Yeah.
So like if you wouldn't have taken that initiative, if whatever Dan said to you to inspire you to go ahead and take that leap, if you wouldn't have done that, then you wouldn't have went to Evan's dance studio. You wouldn't have had that conversation. You wouldn't have none of that would have unfolded. But because you said, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna ask him if he will collaborate, because you went for it. You got that conversation with Evan Carmichael. So that's what I was talking about before in terms of like everything that you're doing, like you have to do that every day. Right. It's like if you're somebody that, even if you have a small channel and you're wanting to get sponsorships, even if let's say you have 100 subscribers and you're like, you know what, I just want to get $25 for a video because right now I'm not getting a lot of views. And since I'm not getting a lot of views, then that $25 is going to be more than I'm going to make on AdSense in this video, for a while. So what I'm going to do, since my channel's not even monetized yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reach out to anybody that I possibly can on the internet, every company that I can get a hold of that has something to do with the type of content that I make. And I'm going to see if I can just get $25.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And just start there and just start with that $25 and keep building on top of it and keep building on top of it. And then that's also going to teach you like how to reach out to brands. It's going to teach you how to work with brands and things like that going through that process. Because, like a lot of people will think like, okay, well, I got to get like hundreds of dollars. I have to get $1,000 for a video or something like that. But in reality, if you're getting, $20 or $25 for a video plus any AdSense money that you get, that's money that you wouldn't have had, and all you had to do is reach out, send a few emails in order to get that, in order to get that money. And you also don't know if that initial relationship that you make is something that you're going to be able to ride your entire journey. So for example, maybe you'll reach out to, some small company somewhere. They're going to be a good fit for your video. They give you a few bucks to make a video, and that video ends up, converting a few sales for them. They're like, wow, that worked pretty good. So then you just keep working with them over, a long period of time and increasing their money as you do it. You're helping their business. They're helping you with your YouTube channel and what it is you're trying to accomplish. And it's a win all the way around because you take that initiative to try to make that stuff happen.
Mm-hmm. So how much would you say?
Did with Evan.
Yeah, I know, and I felt so good for taking that step. But I was kind of chicken. I was sitting there playing it, and there was like multiple opportunities in that moment. And then I go, okay, I just pressed return, boom, super chat, and it happened. And Evan said that's a perfect example. It took courage, stepping out of my comfort zone to do something like that, but. Nothing ventured, nothing gained is kind of like a general saying to apply to that. But how much of your coaching would you say involves having to help people through issues like this in terms of motivation or strategy, where they may be stuck or not realize that they really need to put that different level of hustle and drive into what they're doing? Do you find that this is like a common barrier to some people in terms of their ability to grow?
In terms of the consulting, like I'm not doing consulting anymore. Like I am for two people. And it's just because they became friends in the process. So because of that, I'm still working with them, but outside of that, I'm not doing that anymore. But previously, yes, that was something that a lot of people have, because like a lot of people have the disconnect up here.
Yeah.
in terms of thinking that things are possible, right? And like as soon as you change the way that you're viewing a lot of this stuff, and you take it from, I have to do this in order to do this, in terms of, you know, like I have to be a certain size in order to try to reach out to brands, for example.
External
like
conditions.
As soon as you change that up here,
yeah,
and you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to get $1,000 for a video, but maybe I can get $20 or $25 for a video. And you take that approach, and you just start, you know, putting in the work to try to make it happen. Just little things like that in terms of your thinking can make a really big difference. And another thing also is I worked with a person that had a style channel. It was a fashion channel. And one of the first things that I did when I would consult with anybody is I would say, okay, well, you know, in order for me to be able to help you, I need to know what it is that you're actually trying to do, because, you know, like views and subscribers, like that doesn't even matter on the scheme of things. Like what matters is what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish. Right. And his thing was, he initially reached out because in his mind, he was just wanting to grow his channel. Right. So like, that's why he reached out, and we ended up having the first conversation. But after that, it went to, you know, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And he's like, I don't know, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. So, you know, he hits me back up, we hop on a call. And what he was trying to accomplish was he was actually wanting to be a fashion consultant, right? A fashion coach. So I said, okay, well, the first thing that you should do is you need to make a website. You need to start putting in your descriptions just an email saying, hey, you know, I do fashion consulting or a fashion coach. Contact me here if you're interested in that. Basically, you need to spread awareness and let people know that you're actually offering that service. And as soon as you start offering that service, then you are getting to the point to where you might become a fashion coach. But then as soon as you get that first client, then you're all of a sudden a fashion coach, right? So what happened is he started putting that in his video descriptions, and he went to all of his video descriptions and he put that in there, and he got his first client within 2 weeks. Wow. So if he wouldn't have taken that initiative and said, okay, what is it that I'm trying to actually accomplish here? And then take that extra step to say, okay, well, if this is what I want to do, then in order to do it, I need to actually offer it as a service, right? And then put that in his video descriptions to let people know that he was offering as a service, and mention it in a few videos. Like if he wouldn't have taken those steps to actually let people know, then he wouldn't have been able to offer that as a service. And then now, you know, he offers, you know, like now he's a fashion consultant, right? Yeah. So it's thinking that, changing your thinking in terms of, it's not that I need to get here in order to do this. It's how can I take the situation that I'm in right now and go ahead and start doing what it is that I want to do, or start offering what it is that I want to offer, or start taking those steps towards, you know, that ultimate goal that I'm trying to accomplish. But I think that's the funny thing, like with the consulting that I did, the biggest thing that the biggest hurdle that I had initially working with people is getting to the bottom of what it is that they're actually that they actually want from their channel. Because a lot of people will have a YouTube channel, but they'll have no idea what it is they're trying to do. Like it'll be like, you know, like they're willing to pay a lot of money for consulting, but they're thinking, I just want views and subscribers, but they're not thinking of what they like really, you know, like why are you on YouTube? Why are you making videos in the first place? You know, the course that I'm putting out with TubeBuddy, which is going to be coming out really soon. It's awesome. Almost done. But the course that I'm putting out with them, like there's a whole module just on getting that side of things together, because that's a huge hole in the process that a lot of people, you know, need to get taken care of if they really want to make all this stuff work for them.
Yes. And I see, first, thank you, Motivational Theory, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. He said, great stream. So I think we're doing a good job here, Nick. And I love what you just said. And to me, this gets down to, you know, the mindset should be more about thinking about possibilities and not so focused on why am I where I'm at now and haven't progressed further per se, so that it has like a negative impact on thinking, rather than focusing on story in your past. If you actually, you know, invest your energy into the possibilities and what can I do next to if you step back from what you're trying to do and say, what is it I'm trying to accomplish now? What things can I put into place right now? Yeah. Like, okay, if I say this is what I'm trying to do, and then look at my online presence right now and say, okay, what I need to do? Do I need to build a website so that I can let people know that I offer these services? Do I need to build a resource page and that's it?
so that on my YouTube channel, I can just send people to that resource page like we were talking about yesterday, to where I send people to that resource page to just give them a big list of things that they can get that I would get an affiliate commission off of.
Right.
Like what is it that you have to do in order to, in order to start making some of that stuff happen? Because a lot of people have that opportunity right now because people are watching their videos. If you have 50 people watching a video, that's 50 opportunities to expand your influence, to let people know any services that you offer, to generate a little bit of affiliate income. I mean, like every single one of those people that watch your stuff, that's an additional opportunity to propel you forward. So, so everybody in the chat right now, because I know, a lot of the channels that are here in the chat right now, and everybody in the chat right now, there's opportunity that's happening on your channel right now. You just have to say, okay, right now I'm going to start figuring out, what it is that I can use this stuff for, in order to, accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your channel.
Yeah. I mean, those are great perspectives. And I know I need to do more of those kind of things. I just find it's easy to get my head into spin of overwhelm because there's 6 directions I want to go in. And like you said, some of the things are not that difficult to get started and put in place. And you can put some of that lower lying fruit out there and just build on it rather than try to take on the whole picture, which is something that I do. And then that causes, for me, a little paralysis, you know what I mean?
Yeah, now, for sure. And like a lot of people, that's just a big hump to get over. But, in addition to actually putting that stuff in place, like developing yourself through some of those hurdles is also, another thing that you have to add to the list. Like in your case, like if you are running into that problem, then you have to work through a solution. You have to put your efforts into finding a solution to that problem, because if you don't find a solution, then what it is that you're trying to accomplish, it's not going to just materialize, right? Yes. So you have to find a solution. And once you break through that wall, then everything that's going on your channel and, your business that you're doing from this and all that, like as soon as you can break through that, then you're going to start seeing a lot of changes in everything it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And for me, part of that is trying to get some additional, assistance or resources to help me to do some of those things that don't really require whatever knowledge or skill or focus that I need to bring the content I want to continue to bring out. You know what I mean? Like, so it's about figuring out priority at the same time and doing something about those areas where I may be a little weaker or softer in, if that makes sense. To
absolutely.
What I need to
and one thing I want to address here really quick,
Yeah.
Prodify Cycling says, does knowing what you're trying to do with your channel also about knowing your target audience? Absolutely it is. And it's actually in reverse. So if you know what it is you're trying to accomplish with your channel, that's what helps you find your target audience, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that you have a target audience and then you figure out, what it is you're trying to do with your channel. It's this is what I'm trying to do with my channel. This is like my long-term goal.
Right.
Who do I need to make content for that target audience, right? Who do I need to make content for in order to facilitate that?
Yes. Well put. So Nick, a concept, tied to motivation and other stuff is something called authenticity. And a lot of people, we're told just be you, on camera, and that's what people come for. And I find, as in the beginning, I was like only teleprompter based for everything. And so it took me a while to get more confident and comfortable to want to put myself out there on camera. And, what have you learned about yourself in terms of authenticity as you've evolved? Or have you felt you've been that way, like from the get-go? You didn't really, well, I remember you saying you did your first videos where I think you said you even put on some makeup or things like that to help you. So when did you really find that Nick Nimmin in your heart that, you know what, I'm me and I rock and I love it. And I'm just firing this way. I have no, hesitation or anything holding me back to be what I am now.
That was really based off of response. So like when I first started putting out videos, like everybody else, like I didn't know what to expect. I had in my brain, I had my idea in terms of, this is how things should look. This is how I should look. And that's why I did makeup, because I saw people, like on news and stuff like that, they do makeup. So I'll do makeup too, right? So I put on foundation so that my skin would be, you know, all smooth and even and all that stuff. And at the time, you know, that's what made sense to me. And then I just stopped doing that, and people still, you know, they were responding to the content. And then I started getting like really good feedback on what I was doing. And that's kind of where that bridge happened. Is it went from you know, like, I'm making content and I'm putting, like, I'm presenting in a way that I think other people want to see. I went from that to, I'm just going to present the way that I want to do it, and I'm just going to communicate the way that I want to do it, and I'm going to see how people respond to that. And once I started doing that, that's when people really started, you know, really started paying attention to what it was that I was doing.
So do you find that, like, I know you had a background in sales and stuff like that before. Do you find that that helped you a lot in terms of
without question. Yeah, I did door-to-door sales for 10 years. I did some corporate sales because I had a commercial cleaning company. And with that commercial cleaning company, you know, I had to do corporate sales as well, to where, you know, I would have to go and, you know, suit, tie, the whole thing. But even while I was doing that, I still did door-to-door sales in the evening because I really enjoyed that. And that, like, the skills that I learned from doing that was, I mean, yeah, the skills that I learned from door-to-door sales were a huge contributor to what it is that I'm doing here on YouTube.
Oh, that's great. Because, you know, some people just feel like they're so, you know, camera shy and hesitant to even, you know, make an effort to go out there. And me, I had no prior sales experience. I've been like an IT grinder for years, and although leader in my final days, it still was a whole different kettle of fish to be, you know, like staring this little lens thing in the eye. And so I was curious to know.
It's awkward. It's awkward. Yeah. It takes a while of getting used to. Like, I had the sales experience, and what that did is that helped me, like, learn how to actually, or that helped me, like, I came to the table with being able to communicate, right? Yeah. And being able to be mindful of what it was that I was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they'll say stuff, and it's like, man, if you just said this instead of this, it would come out it would be so, like what it is that you're saying would be so much more impactful. Like, I was able to take that from the sales experience and apply that to the channel. But in terms of camera shyness, like, I was afraid to hop on camera too. That's part of why I was wearing makeup. That's also why the first video on my YouTube channel was about overcoming camera shyness, because I was talking about all of the mental stuff that I was going through, in terms of, you know, saying, yeah, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I always remember Evan Carmichael saying to me repeatedly, from your pain comes your purpose. So where you struggled and you wanted to share your lessons to overcome, I think that's great. And before I have my one last question for you, I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you again for the super chats, you know, Creative Soul TV and Creator Fundamentals, and, you know, we got some great supporting comments here, great advice and stream. Thank you, Gord and Nick. That's from Creative Soul TV. And Dan says, and now Gord is a live stream natural. Well, thank you, Dan. I mean, you got to hear that from you guys is great. You know, I'm trying to enjoy it more and more each time out, and I'm so happy that we have Nick here to enjoy us. And also Michael Daniels super chatted earlier before. Thank you again to him. He's been an amazing supporter, and I love doing collab work with him. And my last topic is siblings, you and Dee. I just find it's such a magical thing to watch the way you guys work together when you guys are on Saturday. And, you know, you both have little different personalities, and, you know, it's kind of cool how Dee manages to, you know, push your buttons a little at times, and you find your ways to play it back with each other, which makes it that much more enjoyable. And what I want to know is, I mean, I think you got like a very special opportunity, the fact that like the two of you are in YouTube and building what you're building. How is that kind of access to each other helped you? I'm curious.
It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome because one, just because my brother's an awesome person anyway, like, we've always had an awesome relationship. So being able to do this together it's incredible. In addition to that, he's also extremely smart. So because of that, like his input on what it is that I'm doing has been extremely valuable. And you know, like the live stream studio, that's all him, right? That was all him. Like I had no intention of building that
Right.
and making like a show or any of that stuff. Like that's 100% him. I was making videos in the living room, and he was like, hey, you know, since you're doing this type of content, you should probably, you know, have some type of like computery looking, you know, stuff behind you and kind of make it look cool and this, that, and the other thing. And as soon as he said it, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You know, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Right. And because of that, you know, I went into this environment that you see back here behind me. So it's like his like the way that he sees things has been extremely valuable in my journey as well. In addition to, you know, getting to, you know, actually like, you know, sit across the table from him for, you know, like 4 to 7 hours every single Saturday. You know, like it's just been an awesome experience. And I can't say how happy that I am that he decided to actually do YouTube, because, you know, like for a while, like I was just kind of, you know, like in my own world doing my thing. And, you know, like every now and then I'd tell him, I'd be like, you know, like, hey, I've got 10,000 subscribers now, or hey, I've got 20,000 subscribers. And he'd be like, hey, you know, cool. But like, he didn't get it. Right. But like now, because he's like in it, like, you know, like all of that stuff, like he gets the struggle, he gets the journey, he gets like all of it now, which is a really cool aspect of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it would be ultra cool that you have someone to, like, if, you know, like when you're dealing with the ebbs and flows of things, and just, you know, someone to chat with so readily accessible must be,
absolutely,
just fantastic. And, you know, I love watching Dee, and I had the good fortune as well to do an interview with him in the summer, and that was so much fun. And, you know, hope to do that again someday soon. But I mean, I just think what you guys are doing is great and sets a great example for people of the possibilities. And I've never, you know, I often think about, wow, I wonder if there's like a very like competitive thing from a sibling standpoint. But when we watch you guys, it's just like, you just seem so humble and giving to the community that it's just, you know, great. And, you know, gushing.
Yeah,
for
Brian says right here,
yeah.
Brian G mentioned something in the chat here. He says that that he remembers me mentioning to him that I was working on my brother, like trying to get him on YouTube. And he was saying now it's cool that we can share the journey together, you know, which is,
I think that's awesome. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys are out there doing that. I mean, it's kind of unique, and it's an amazing, you know, pleasure for all of us out there. And so, Nick, thank you so much for spending all this time here today and sharing your great experience. And I really appreciate it. And can you share with us some of what's next for you? Like, I know you mentioned social media marketing world, and you have a course coming. So can you give us a summary?
So I'm doing social media marketing world. That's going to be in March in San Diego. From there, I don't have anything that is like guaranteed. Like I don't have anything set in stone yet. But one thing that we are trying to work out is some of the future speaking engagements that we do, or that you know, like if I get invited to go speak somewhere, I'm actually going to like Dee and I have talked about it, and we're actually going to try to do some tandem stuff there.
Oh, that would be
as
cool.
well, where we actually get our banter going on stage.
Yeah.
Which we think people would enjoy that.
Definitely.
So that's something that we hope to introduce if we get the opportunity this year. Is both of us actually sharing a stage. We think that would be cool. In addition to that, I have a course coming out with TubeBuddy that's going to be coming out extremely soon. It's almost complete. And in addition to that, you know, Tubertools, that's always a thing, and the YouTube channel.
Well, that's awesome. We greatly appreciate all that you do and share and help the community with. And it was a pleasure to have you here today. And thank you, Nick. And I'd like to
thank you, Gord, man. It's always awesome talking to you, you know, and getting your perspective on stuff too. You know, like what I think is interesting is like you know, like a lot of the stuff, right? Everybody's all like, you know, like just like fired up and like, you know, like brings like tons of energy and stuff like that. But I like the tone that you bring to like your interviews and stuff. Like I love the interviews that you do, like just like how you approach them and how well organized you are with everything. I love what it is that you're doing when you do these interviews.
Well, thank you, Nick. And
thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. It was great. And I'd like to thank everyone who enjoyed participating today and being in the chat and sharing. And I appreciate you all, and thank you so much. And I look forward to doing more interviews. And again, thanks, Nick, for being an awesome guest. And everyone, take care. We'll see you in another video soon, as I say when I end things. Cheers. Thanks, Nick.